Hello everyone, welcome to another module on the renal system. In this, we will discuss about the difference between the nephritic syndrome, nephrotic syndrome and nephritic-nephrotic syndrome, and we will cover the principles of each of these. Okay, so let me just start with the glomerular filtration barrier. Okay, so it is majorly composed of three layers. The innermost layer is the fenestrated capillary endothelium. You can look at this. This is the fenestrated capillary endothelium. That means it has pores and it is endothelial cells. Okay. The next in the outer membrane is the basement membrane. This basement membrane is made up of type 4 collagen and heparin sulfate. Okay, just remember that it is made up of type 4 collagen and heparin sulfate. And the outermost layer is the layer consisting of podocytes. You can look at these are podocytes. Now all the three layers have negative charge and hence these prevent the entry of negative charge molecules that are albumin. Is it clear? Now what is basically nephritic syndrome? In nephritic syndrome, the RBCs are leaked out, whereas the protein doesn't leak out as much as in the nephrotic syndrome. In the nephrotic syndrome, there is a high leakage of protein, but there is a less leakage of RBC. And in nephritic-nephrotic syndrome, there is leakage of both protein and RBC. Is it clear? So let us talk more about nephritic syndrome first. Okay. Now what is the major cause of nephritic syndrome? It is majorly caused due to disruption of the filtration barrier. That means there is a damage of the glomerular basement membrane which leads to loss of RBCs into the urine and hence it is presented with hematuria. It is majorly caused due to filtration barrier damage. Okay, what is the clinical presentation of nephritic syndrome? It is presented by hematuria, RBC casts in the urine since the RBC leaks out into the urine. There is a decrease in the GFR which leads to oliguria, azotemia and increase in the renin release. This increase in the renin release causes the renin angiotensin aldosterone system to activate. Okay. Now this decrease in the GFR can also lead to something called as hypertension. Is it clear? This hypertension is a result of decreased hydrostatic pressure. Is it clear till now? There is proteinuria. I won't say there is no proteinuria, but it is mild. It is a mild proteinuria, that is in the subnephrotic range. That is less than 3.5 gram per day. In nephrotic syndrome, it is massive proteinuria, that means more than 3.5 grams per day. Is it clear what is nephritic syndrome? It is basically the damage to the filtration barrier. Now, what are the examples of nephritic syndrome? It is acute post-streptococcal glomerular nephritis. Next one is the rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis. Third one is IgA nephropathy, that is the Buerger's disease. The fourth one is the Alport syndrome. And the membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis is also a part of nephritic-nephrotic syndrome. Okay. So let us just consider these four causes or the four examples of nephritic syndrome. Is nephritic syndrome basically clear? It is a decrease in the filtration barrier which leads to RBC casts and dysmorphic RBCs in the urine. This filtration barrier further leads to a decrease in the GFR which leads to oliguria, azotemia and increase of renin release. There is also an increase in the BUN to creatinine levels and it is seen with hypertension due to decrease in hydrostatic pressure. I'll cover these in another separate module of nephritic syndrome. Now let us talk about nephrotic syndrome. It is O, nephrotic. Let us remember O with the O of the protein. Okay. So in nephrotic syndrome, or also we can remember that with O of the podocytes. Is it clear? So nephrotic podocytes proteinuria. Now, the nephrotic syndrome is caused due to podocyte damage, that is the outermost layer of the glomerular filtration barrier. Due to the podocyte damage, there is a impaired charge barrier. I already told you that there is negative charge in the glomerular filtration barrier, and this negative charge leads to prevention of albumin release. Now, since the negative charge is disrupted, there is massive proteinuria. That means it is more than 3.5 grams per day. Since there is a loss of protein, there is loss of albumin as well, and hence it presents with hypoalbuminemia. Since the albumin decreases, it results in multiple symptoms. Now, what are the multiple symptoms? Due to decrease in the albumin, there is decrease in the plasma oncotic pressure. Okay, due to decrease in the plasma oncotic pressure, it can lead to edema. Now, when the albumin decreases, the liver functions more. Okay, the liver function increases, which causes hyperlipidemia. Now, this hyperlipidemia further causes frothy urine with fatty cast, since even lipid is released. Since there is a decrease in the protein content in the bodies, all the protein has been lost in the urine, so the protein content in the body decreases. Now, since the protein content in the body decreases, there is even loss of protein called as antithrombin 3. This antithrombin 3 loss results in thrombosis or hypercoagulable states. Is it clear till now? Now, the last and the final point is due to massive release or the massive excretion of protein, there is also release of immunoglobulins. Hence, the body becomes more susceptible to infection. So, in nephritic syndrome, it is the glomerular basement membrane damage which leads to RBC release. In nephrotic syndrome, it is majorly caused due to podocyte damage which leads to impaired charge barrier, and hence proteins are released, and the symptoms are basically due to hypoproteinemia, and in this it is due to release of RBCs. Now, the various examples of nephrotic syndrome are focal segmental glomerular sclerosis, minimal change disease, membranous nephropathy, amyloidosis, and diabetic glomerular nephropathy. I'll cover all of these in the module of nephrotic syndrome, so please check that out. Now, let us talk about the last section, which is Nephritic-Nephrotic syndrome. That means it is a combination of both nephritic syndrome and nephrotic syndrome. Now, what happens is there is a severe glomerular basement membrane damage. Okay. Now, this damage leads to a loss of RBCs as usual, and also there is impaired charge barrier which leads to proteinuria. So, it is a combination of both nephritic and nephrotic syndrome. Now, eventually it will show with symptoms of both nephritic and nephrotic syndrome, but it majorly shows symptoms of nephrotic syndrome, and even the proteinuria is in the massive range, that is the nephrotic range. Now, what are the various examples of nephritic-nephrotic syndrome? It is diffuse proliferative glomerulonephritis and membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis. These are very big tongue twisters. So, are you clear with the nephritic syndrome, nephrotic syndrome, and nephritic-nephrotic syndrome and its major basic principles? Now, we'll talk about each topic in great depth in separate modules. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please click on the like button and do subscribe to this channel. Let me know in the comment section below which topics do you want me to explain. Thank you.